Do we have to resume or we're good?
Yeah, you
Okay.
can just reconvene it too.
You're up, Shan.
Okay, the only property owner we have here this afternoon is here. We have to act on all of the others, but John is here. And then Melissa is familiar with the property.
John, sir? You get to speak first.
If you don't mind, before you start,
Okay.
I didn't have time to get the documents to all of you in your packet, so can I just hand those out quick?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Miss Melissa. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, sir.
My name is John Niemla. I live at 12564 Horse Creek Road. It's a piece of property that's off the grid. Everybody in the valley has their own electrical system. It's also an earth home. And I just don't feel that 17.41% assessment increase reflects any of the value around the property. It's extremely difficult to get a home loan on it because the banks have no comparables. They won't give you a conventional loan normally. I don't know how the neighbor got, I haven't talked to him. But it's very difficult to get a conventional loan from a bank because there are no comparables.
Okay. Anything else you want to tell us? And maybe you might have more after she talks. Thank you, John. Miss Melissa.
Hi, the subject property is located at 12564 Horse Creek Road. The 2017 assessed value is $288,700, but the value I'll be recommending is $271,000. That's a land value of $145,000 and an improvement value of $126,000. This property was located in an area which we performed a neighborhood reappraisal in this year, which is the reason for the larger than normal percentage of increase. With the recommended data corrections, the percentage of increase would only be about 10%. One of the things that I would like to point out about the home is that we currently have a 20% reduction on the structure for the earth berm style. And that number was extracted from the market from historical sales of earth berm style homes. And then in my recommended value, I am also recommending a further 5% reduction for the heating system that is in place, but from my understanding is unable to be used because of the lack of electricity. The home is powered by solar panels, and from my understanding, it's just too much energy to run it. So on the table that's on the handout there, I just want to go over that quick. It is showing some sales of off-grid properties historically in the county. The first sale is the subject property sale, and then the following two are the property that's located right next door to the subject. And then the following one that also sold twice is located on Thomas Canyon Road, which is in the southwest portion of the county. If you look at the sale prices and then the assessed values at the time of sale, we were actually under-assessed on all of those sales. So just basically showing that I don't think that we need to make an adjustment for properties being off-grid. They have a certain amount of desirability to the right buyer. I know financing was also an issue that had been brought up. And just sort of looking back over how some of these have been financed in the past, there were a couple people that were able to obtain conventional financing, or people are just outright paying cash for these types of properties. So I would like to go over some comparable sales for the subject property. Comparable number one is actually the same year built. It's slightly better quality, but it's about the same size. It does have a garage, and it only sits on 5 acres. That one sold for $330,000. Number two, the home is actually of a lesser quality. It's much smaller. That one is also an off-grid property on 7 acres, sold for $280,000. Number three, the home is older, but it's better quality. Again, that one also has a garage with it, sold for $335,000. And then sale number four, it's older, but better quality, slightly smaller again, also has a garage. That one sits on 10 acres, sold for $275,000. So all of these properties have sold for more than the subject property. And I would mostly attribute that to, again, the earth berm style and then the need for the reduced value for the lack of the heating system being usable. So I would again just recommend the value of $271,000.
So Melissa, you have years sold. John, did you buy this house in 2006?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. And it was assessed at 240 then?
That was the sale price. The
Oh.
assessed value was $219,500.
So it was assessed at 219 and it's sold for 240. Right? Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Miss Melissa or Mr. John? Oh, sorry, Mr. Farabee.
All four of those are off-grid comparables?
No, sir. Let's see, comparable sale number 2 is also an off-grid property. The other 3 are not, and I chose to use ones that weren't, based on the information of the sale of off-grid properties and not recommending any reduction for that.
If I can make a comment, I know where the place is, and off-grid is, it's gotta be a tough way to live. Well, I grew up out of electricity, so I kind of have a feel for what it's like not to have electricity. And there are long ways they'll never, well, I don't want to say never, but the chance to get electricity are slim to none. But ways out there, thank you.
Apparently, people looked into getting electricity when they started building in the valley. And at that time, it was $250,000 to run it in because they'd have to run it in underground all the way from the highway. And so nobody was interested in that price.
Can you tell me what earth berm, what'd you say? You gave a discount for earth berm house or earth berm?
Yep, the home has a 20% reduction on it for the earth berm style. They just don't seem to sell as well as a home that's, all above grade.
Okay, so he's got a lot that's, I figured earth berm means it's, but a lot of that's,
We're built into the hillside.
The north side.
okay, maybe that's why I couldn't see it. That's why I'm like, how do you call that earth berm when he has a roof and,
It's a conventional.
thank
yeah,
you,
there-
okay. I didn't see that side of it, that's why I was like, how do you get earth berm out of that frontage looking like that? So, thank you. Do we have a recommendation, board?
Madam Chair, the other comment I'd have for general edification is that the Forest Service in the last number of years has not allowed without extreme pressure, put overhead lines if they want everything underground. And you look at the cost of, it's better sometimes to go a long ways around a piece of Forest Service to get from point A to point B because of the underground cost. Now, whether that policy will stay in effect with new administration, I don't know, but current policy, from what I understand, is you can't go across Forest Service overhead. Except, like, of course, for the big power line coming from Wyoming, that 230,000 KVA jobber. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a motion, board?
I'd make a motion to go ahead with the recommended assessment of $277,000.
71, you mean?
Or was it 71? $271,000 on this piece of property. After looking at the comparables, she seems to be right in line with where it should be.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Are you, John, you halfway satisfied with that, or?
I think that's high too. There's been no sales around our house. There's been nothing really to compare it to, so. People don't necessarily want to buy a piece of property off the grid. We bought it because it was a horse property. And then we adapted to the off-grid. So I don't see where there's any benefit, the off-grid makes it a challenge.
Thank you. It's been a motion and a second.
Well, I think that's high because of no electricity, and like I say, the future looks very, very dim for ever getting regular electricity, so I guess I don't know what a substitute motion would be, and probably wouldn't go anywhere anyway. I'll just vote no, I guess, on this.
Okay. Do you have a motion, Ms. Kara? Go ahead. Roll call, please.
Buskerud,
Yes.
DeSanto,
Aye.
Farabee,
No.
Hadcock. Aye. Motion carries at 271, John. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so on the rest of them, we have a recommendation to change or not, and we'll just go down through each one of them. The next one is Walmart. Is it Walmart? The two Walmarts and Sam's Club?
Both Walmarts and the Sam's Club.
And Rich has a recommendation to change
All three.
all three. Okay, so maybe just state your recommendation for each property, and the board can make one motion for all three?
Is that okay, board?
Fine by me.
Okay.
Okay, the first one is the oldest Walmart on North LaCrosse Street, and that is ID number 54135. My recommendation is $3,517,600 on the land, $8,575,700 on the building, for a total of $12,093,300.
Is there a motion? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Rich, we're going to do all three. Sorry.
Okay. The second location is the new Walmart on Stumer Road. My recommendation is $4,035,300 on the land, $9,533,700 on the building, for a total of $13,569,000.
Thank you, Rich. Next one.
The last property is the Sam's Club. My recommendation here is $3,177,700 on the land, $7,661,600 on the building, for a total of $10,839,300.
Oh. Thank you, Rich. Is there a motion?
I'll
Or
make,
question?
I'll make a motion to accept its recommendations of the department on all three of the Walmart properties.
Is there a second? Mr. Farabee, Mr. Dent?
Second for discussion.
Thank you. Made a motion and a second. Any discussion? Commissioner
Madam Chair.
DeSanto.
What is your reasoning for the reduction?
Basically, we got these appeals late in the window, and they were initially asking for the moon. And dealing with the tax reps, then they came back at the final date, April 12th, that we needed to submit things for the commission. And they had revised their wants as far as the overall values. We took a look at them, at what their arguments were, and to be truthful, they didn't make a lot of sense. I looked at them in relationship to each other, and to make sure that we were assessing based on equal footing for each individual structure, and to make sure that our valuations were fair and equitable.
Shannon, your response to that?
He did a good job. He relooked at the properties, and just to add a little bit more detail that he didn't get into, he had one of the properties called a discount warehouse, and another one a discount store, and they're the same kind of thing, and he just made them consistent. So if the property owner looks at one and the assessment on this one, and he compares it to the assessment on this one might be higher than the other, but there's good reason for that, and at least we're more consistent on them.
Very well.
But he doesn't have any dark spaces or dark things in
We're
it.
not talking dark store.
Dark store, no.
What do you call that? Dark what?
Dark store.
Yeah, that's when they building for
Dark
20 years
spaces.
and then dump it on the market.
Well, I was hoping you'd talk about your dark spaces there.
Or the obsolescence.
Yeah.
That sounds like a rock. Sorry, there's been, geez, but there's been a motion by Busker, second by DeSanto. Any other questions?
I'll have to ask what the picture has to do with Walmart.
That's the obsolescence rock that I was talking about?
No,
With the dark spaces around it.
There's Deb's dark space.
I wasn't missing something then.
No.
Okay, thank you.
I figured you knew what Sam's and Walmart looked like. So I didn't-
Well, yeah, okay.
I can if you like me to.
No, that's fine.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
Okay, so I have a suggestion on the next several. Barbara Crawford, Justin Crawford, Hazel Kalkbrenner, Ramona Grensteiner, Terry Shell. There can be one motion for all of those. Our office recommends no change. These were appealed to the local board, and we anticipated bringing them back to the county board here, but in that time, we were able to go out and look at each one of these properties and meet with the property owner, and we'll leave the local board value at what it is. So, no change to what the local board did on all of those. Yeah, yep. Yep, just, the local board has already changed the assessment on them, and we'll leave it at that for all of those.
I would move that we accept Shannon's recommendation. to
Moved by
accept.
Mr. DeSanto, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Farabee. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
That was 5 of them, Crawford, Kalkbrenner, Grensteiner, and Shell.
Yep. Yeah, six.
Oh, there's more parcels in there, but I'm looking at the schedule.
We're looking at Patty next, if I'm
Okay.
correct.
Yeah, and then, okay, then the next one we're at is Spotted Bear, Roush.
But that's not part of
Did.
Wasta, though.
Yep, we did skip one, I'm sorry, right after Walmart's, we've got Skillingstad, and I simply skipped over it.
That's right.
Chris has a recommendation for Lenny and Mary Skillingstad.
Hello? I'm making a recommendation of $47,900 for the land, $58,500 for the structures, for a total of $106,400, and the owner is in agreement with that value.
Okay, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by DeSanto, second by Busker. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Chris.
Okay, so I'm sorry about that. Then you acted on Crawford, Kalkbrenner, Grensteiner, and Shell. And then the next one on the list is Spotted Bear and Roush. And we just heard recently that they're not going to come in, but Patty has a recommendation to change that.
Ms. Patty?
I have a recommendation
Oops, let me find it first, everybody.
Okay, give me just a sec, Ms. Patty.
Okay, go ahead.
George? Okay. Ms.
Go ahead.
Patty?
This is also in Wasta. I have a recommended value of $80,500, which is $3,500 on the land and $77,000 on the structures. The taxpayer is in agreement with that.
Okay, do we have a motion?
So moved.
So moved by DeSanto,
Second.
second by Farabee. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, motion carries. Ms. Dawn?
Now we're on Skillingstad. Dawn has a recommendation on this.
And there are actually two parcels with this. The first parcel is 64582. I want to sustain the local board changes for 6,500 on land and 3,500 on the building, but I need the abstract code to be changed from non-owner occupied to owner occupied.
Okay,
And then there's another parcel, 47813, and I have recommended a change from the local board to 10,100 on the land and 142,400 on the improvements for a total of 152,500. And the homeowner is aware of the change I'm recommending, and she did not want to appear.
okay, so, can we act on both of these at the same time?
Why not? Yeah.
Okay, is there a motion board?
I would make a motion to approve the staff recommendation on 84582, 64582, and 47813.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second by DeSanto, discussion? Not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Dawn.
Thank you.
Kara, are you caught up?
Yeah.
Okay, then we got the next three, can be the same thing. Mary Lewis, Daniel Turgan, and Michael and Gretchen Roush. Those are only 3 parcels. They were appealed to the local board, the town of Wasta. Same thing, we went out and looked at those. We got no argument with the value that the board has on them. So no change to the local board value.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to sustain the local board on 7164, 54163, and 18509.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by DeSanto, discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
So that's the way this is supposed to be done.
Okay, do we have a motion to recess the Board of Equalization till tomorrow, the 21st, Friday?
What's going to happen tomorrow?
Yeah.
We're going to go try to
Is
get
that
as much done before noon?
Is that the tax
Let's
ID
recess, George, and
number?
then we'll discuss.
I don't know. It could be.
Um,
Is that?
Should be part of this discussion.
Question.
That'd be
Yes.
a question for Shannon. I don't know.
Shannon. The tax ID number and the
Parcel.
parcel number are 2 different things, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, everybody calls it the long number and the short number. And we always use the short number just because it's shorter.
Okay.
There are 2 identification numbers for every parcel. One is sort of a database number. Whenever you have a database, the database creates a number.
Okay.
The other one is related to GIS. The GIS map creates a number. So every property has 2 ID numbers. Everybody always uses a short number.
Okay.
And it gets called tax ID number, parcel number, it gets called lots of things. And if you start rattling off 10 numbers, I'm gonna know what number you're talking about. If you say 006145, I'm not gonna know, I know what you're talking about.
I appreciate the
That's a
clarification.
good idea
Okay.
to call the shortest number the short number.
Yeah.
So Shannon,
That's what you're getting paid the big bucks for.
hold on, Busker. Shannon, verification on tomorrow. If there's, tomorrow morning, George, are you going to be here?
Plan on being till about noon.
Santo,
Here till
12?
noon.
So in the afternoon, how many parcels do we have, or do you know?
In the
At this point.
afternoon,
Yeah,
well, more parcels than this, but we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 10 property owners are gonna show up, and then all of the exempt people, and I know a couple of those are coming back.
okay, so if there's only 3 of us here, and one votes no, that kills then everything's no. If one person keeps voting no out of those 3,
The motion fails, but there still is an assessed value on the property. So if a motion to change it fails, the assessed value is still there.
it only
So we don't
takes,
bring it back on the last day or something? Didn't we used to do something like that?
Well, this is the last day, tomorrow.
Oh, I thought we had a day set aside next week too.
No, we originally thought we were gonna have so many appeals, we were going into next week, and we didn't.
so what happens, that's kind of unfair for the last half people, though.
Well, we did it for years with only 3 people.
Really?
Until last year, I think.
Yeah,
Last year was the first year we've done it with all 5.
You're half the meeting.
Okay, the other thing, Busker, is the resolution. Will you talk about that before you
Yeah.
go? The resolution on
Well,
the
we
park
can. I
models?
thought you were gonna do it at the next commission.
Why want you to tell George and DeSanto and the group what we,
Well, we talked about, park models and what to do about it. And, decided that probably the best thing to do would be for us to develop a resolution to take to the Black Hills Association, to get it approved, go to the State Association, get them to approve it, and get it, drafted into a bill by the, whatever it's called in Pierre.
Yep.
And Howdy Shell said he's gonna work on it from the other direction, because he tried to get it changed last year, and the governor's office kind of vetoed it, but he's gonna work on that again. He said there was some support. So I thought what we'll do is for the next commission meeting, draft a resolution, and if you got any ideas, let Holly know on what we want on there. What do we want to say now, in order to be tax-free, you gotta have this, 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 and this? Or we just want to say, we want a resolution that Department of Revenue clean up this mess and figure it out, and so make it a lot clearer for us to decide what, either we tax them or we don't tax them. It's that simple.
And Shannon hopefully can help with that language when we do that
Yeah.
resolution.
In the meantime, be thinking about, because we can always change that resolution, what you want, how far you want to go, and if you got good ideas on what we should do.
That sounds good, and the vehicle taxing people need to be part of this thing too.
That's a different law book than property tax, but I would suggest maybe two different resolutions there if you want to address the vehicle licensing then.
Well, but the two need to be addressed together.
Yeah,
Well, they said, George, that Hanson had his vehicle, and then the other guy was from out of state. The rest of them didn't renew their license yet.
But you're right, either if they're gonna tax it property-wise, then get rid of that vehicle registration. If we're not gonna tax them property tax, then keep the vehicle registration.
yeah. And that could be two resolutions, one dealing with the registration, one dealing with property tax.
Right, if you're gonna call it real property in South Dakota, then quit having people, you just said that, quit having them get licenses, vehicle license.
Absolutely.
Because then,
And what
they should have to specify it somehow on the tax paper instead of say, because they're not gonna ask them, is this a park model, or is this a trailer like this, or is this a someone made that point.
What prompts the registration is when you buy one of these, the dealer gives you a title, and you got to take the title to the treasurer's office to actually get title in your name. And the law requires you that when you get title in your name, you have to pay that registration, whether you're going to drive it or not.
Yeah, that's
Even
true.
if you buy a car that's broke down, if I buy something that don't have an engine in it, they're going to make, when I transfer title into my name, they're going to make me pay 1 year's registration. On some of these things, that's absurd, and there is a law that requires that law could be changed and said you don't have to do that.
See, the problem I have with two resolutions is if they get separated,
Yep, no, we can't have two, you're right.
and you gotta keep them
But they
tied,
could both get turned down, and they could both get accepted, and then you still got the same mess.
or one can get lost.
Yeah. Well,
And
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
gotta be one resolution, and here's, either this way is the way you gotta do it.
yeah, well, whatever, but then there's two different parts of the law you're talking about there.
So the bottom line, guys, is, so we're all on the same page. We're gonna do a resolution. If you have suggestions or areas that you want covered, get them to Holly or Shannon.
Okay.
It's gonna be
Holly.
harder to do it on the fly on
Yeah,
a meeting.
Tuesday.
So please get those suggestions or those helpful things that, and George, you have some great ideas. Get those to Holly or Shannon so we can make sure we got the right verbiage in there. Shannon.
Holly.
Shannon. George seems
But yeah,
to
it's
want to
it's
talk
time.
to you more
You were
than
right,
Holly
George. It's
sometimes,
time for
Shannon,
us
so
to
you're
take the
it.
bull by the horn, because no one else is gonna do it.
Yeah. And
Shannon.
how do we treat the guy from Bismarck, or if the guy from Wyoming or Nebraska? I don't know what North Dakota is, but if this guy has to register every year, how the hell do we handle that?
You don't have to
Nope,
register
nope,
every year.
nope.
You don't have to register it unless you drive it down a highway.
Yep.
Now, I don't know if North Dakota has that initial registration or not. Yeah, I don't know. The solution is South Dakota title.
Because you got it in South Dakota, George.
Well,
So the taxes should be for South Dakota, George.
Everybody down in Arizona does, so they can pay a third of the tax.
you know, the guy talked about reciprocity, and I don't know what the answer is. All I know is if he's getting dinged,
Let that owner pass it
And he
on.
could, yeah, he could continue to.
So we're going to say you said that
Good.
to Mr. Rasmussen or whatever.
Yeah, you bet. He can pass it on. It can be on, I think
This
it should
property
be
can be
on the property
400,000.
owner. Should be their onus to have to determine whether or not they want to pass the cost on to.
Okay, we did have those, the lady that was up here arguing and was so upset with Ron, the unknown ownership where we didn't know who owned it.
Yeah.
When we didn't know who owned it, we knew somebody owned it.
Yeah.
But when we didn't know who it was, we put it on Mark Rutherford's assessment because it's on his land.
Where it should have been.
So how did you get the
Except
names?
there-
Shannon, tell me how you got the names and why he gave them to you.
He told us who it was because his liquor license was up for renewal and unpaid property taxes would be an issue with that. So He called and volunteered the information. But we do have a state statute that
George.
sets up the building on a lease site,
Or
so
whatever his name is.
what you're talking about is a good idea, except the state law allows the split for a building only.
Into recess or?
Just to bring me up to speed, when I
Just to know.
talked to him about rejecting customers, wouldn't he be really running a fine line if he, say I pulled up there with my old cattle, whatever, and pulled in there, and he said, I can't park there? Wouldn't he, well, especially, well,
He could anyway.
boy, I tell you what, discrimination, it's,
That is a
It's his land.
what? What? If you don't rent, you got apartments, you don't rent them?
It's the same as a motel or apartment or something. You gotta watch what you're doing.
Yeah. But you don't want to turn anybody away unless you got a really good reason. I mean, that's what I understand, but.
Okay, do we have a motion to recess?
So moved.
Second by Busker, all in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you.
Ladies.